All right, a toast to the Modern Goonies podcast. Cheers, guys. All right, hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. I'm your host, Trevor King Minor, and on the mic today, I've got two really good friends, Michael Ross on the FaceTime back here.
It's your boy.
And my officially named co-host, Chandler Schwing.
Recently promoted, yay!
Hell yeah. So it's a good time. So you might notice we're doing things a little bit different. Our third chair is empty because, quite obviously, if you're watching the video as of March 2020.
We have no friends.
We lost all of our friends. It was a really bad time. No, obviously quarantine, COVID-19, with everything that's going on. So this is the best way that we could continue the show. So here we are, and we're gonna try and talk about a couple different things, but I feel like the majority of this is probably going to be very obviously about the disease, but we'll go ahead and get right into it. So what's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Well, I would say, but you know how I'm doing because we have been in quarantine for the past 12 days.
So obviously Chandler and I are roommates. So before anyone gets in the comments and they're like, "Oh, what the fuck? Like you're not doing your part. Like you're not quarantining yourself. Like we live together, so we're in the same boat no matter what." Yeah. So we've been hit pretty hard by this disease. Obviously, with the initial layoffs, my good friend here and my other roommate have also been laid off due to what has been happening. And then I have gotten trapped into my desk job, unfortunately. And then Michael, physics grad student that we have here, he's, been stuck to online classes. So it's been interesting. So how's that been? How's the online classes been for the physics?
Dude, oh my God. These classes are not meant to be taught in an online format.
I don't imagine.
No. They're supposed to be taught face-to-face so that you can have ample time to ask your professors questions. And in my case, one of my professors is just sending me his lecture notes instead of lecturing because he can't.
That's gotta be rough.
Yeah, fuck it.
So is it just the presentations with his anecdotes about what he is teaching or what he would say if he was going to go through, or how does that work?
PowerPoints?
Not even that. It's just a piece of paper with things that are from the book.
Handwritten?
Handwritten.
Good
and
Lord.
Then everything that he would say is in his mind, and he says it as he writes it on the board.
Ah, so he's insane.
Yes. No.
It looks like he's insane then.
Yeah, that sounds rough. When I was in college, I took mostly online, just to go with my work schedule because it was easier for me. But there was still a few classes, and you're in what going for your master's. Well, you're going for your doctorate, but you're trying to get your master's degree first.
Yeah.
Right. So, and all your classes are, I'm sure, infinitely tougher than mine. And there were still a few of mine that I had them in person. I was like, if I didn't have this class in person, I don't know how I could pass it. So I can definitely imagine how difficult it could be. Do they not have an option for a video type course where the professor does a video lecture or something? I don't know if that would be easier.
It's an option, but it's not just the classes online. I do better in an environment that I'm supposed to be able to study in, at a library or at a fucking college, but not at my house. Home is for not school.
Fucking off. That I could barely study whenever I was at home because I would get distracted so easily. So I would normally try and study in between classes or something. I would go to the library and study.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
exactly.
feels right.
Yeah, no, that's rough, man. I only took a couple of online classes when I was at Texas Tech, but there was this one class in particular that she had the option. She was like, "Yeah, I know coming to 8 a.m. classes, I know it's super hard for you guys, just super coddling." And she's like, "So I post all of my stuff online, so if you're ever whatever." So I started off, I went to class for a little bit, and then midway through the semester, I was like, nah, why the fuck am I getting up at 8 a.m. when I have all these things? But then I figured out that it was actually much harder to not be there and be engaging in class than it was to like sit there, take notes from the slides, and then also to like force myself to do it. I'm like,
Yep.
so eventually I just started going back to class. I'm like, there's no real incentive to, even though I have this option to do that. So
See, I've had that, but like in the inverse. So one of my classes, it was taught, I took it 2 different classes, 2 different semesters, but it was taught by the same professor, and both of them were like a 1 day a week class, but the class was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and he didn't do any breaks. It was pretty grueling. I mean, he was a fine professor. He was interesting, but I cannot sit for 2 hours and 45 minutes and focus.
I had a class. It was only like one Monday every like other week or something like that. And it was like a 4-hour class, and the dude was just like forced into teaching it. So he was like, you know, midway through, he'd be like, I don't want to do this for another 2 hours. Like, we'll do this last couple slides and we'll leave. I'm like, thank you. You're a hero.
In my case, my professor was pretty gung ho. Like, he was pretty, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. He really wanted to teach the subject, but after like our first exam, like he would post like his lecture notes online. It'd just be like bullet, like PowerPoints. And we only had 4 exams a semester, and like those were our 4 grades for the whole semester, like no homework. And he was like, I don't count like any absences or anything like that. You're not going to get graded on that. If you want to be here and get the lectures, you'll get it. If not, then you're going to fail the exams. I'm like, oh shit, I better get there. And after I took the first exam, I was like, wow, these are just like word for word off of his like bullet points online. So I literally went to his class only for tests and got an A both semesters. I was like, this is living. Yeah. This is the easiest way.
Dude, I could go on for days about like some classes that I was in that the people, they would ask me, they're like, dude, like, do you have some notes? This class is so hard. I'm like, dude, if you just showed up like every fucking day like you're supposed to, you would know this is easy. But I don't want to get into all that. So I feel like the main thing that's pressing right now that, you know, people, I don't know if they want to hear about, but, you know, when we look back on this, we're going to be like, all right, what do we talk about? So let's get back to the main thing that's like at hand. So shit. I don't know, man. The world's crazy. Everything right now, everything that we know, like life, just regular day to day has been completely shifted. Like,
the craziest thing for me is like how bad it got in like just like 2 weeks or like a week and a half. Like at the beginning of March, like everyone's like, yeah, Corona, ha ha ha, make memes of it, which there were some fantastic memes to come from Corona. Had some good goofs and gaffs. And then like a week later, we're like, oh shit, our whole country is infected.
Well, I remember, so like when I'm at work, I have a little bit of downtime in the morning when I'm separating all the shit that I'm doing. And so I'll be on the computer and I'll read like the morning articles. I'll be sipping my coffee. I'll be reading the morning articles. And
very adult-like.
Yeah, I know. I said that and I was like, I sound like a fucking 50-year-old man.
You gotta get the dad grunts
so
too.
I'm like,
he's sorting through it and he's just
yeah. So I was reading these articles. So anyway, so I'm like sifting through them in the morning, and so like I started reading about it, and so this is back beginning of January. I want to say, or like mid-January, and so there were a couple of reports of this new disease, and so you know me, I love everything all science, and you know anything that could be slightly apocalyptic, I just dive right into it, and so I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I was like reading about it, and it was like there was only like a couple deaths at the time. There was like 11 maybe, like it really wasn't that much. But then like every day I'd notice like a couple more, and so I'm like, you know, my last week that I was like really reading the articles at work, there was like 17 deaths from this new disease in China, and I'm like, okay. I was like, well, you should probably keep your eyes on that. Like this seems like it's something that might be maybe concerning. I'm not sure. And so I went on vacation, and when I came back, like the number had skyrocketed. There was like 600 or something like that within a week, and I was like, oh fuck. And so yeah, like no one was really taking it serious. And the whole time, and like I'm kind of like a hypochondriac, like a little bit. And so like the whole time I'm like,
it's true.
Yeah, I was like, man, I hope that doesn't like, you know, spread. And everyone's like, no, it's fine. Like, it's fine. And like, you know, me, I'm all worried about it. I'm like, I don't know. And I like the whole time I was in Colorado, I was making jokes about it. I was like, maybe it'll spread. They're like, oh, don't even worry about it, man. And then like now here we are, we're like the country with the most confirmed cases.
Number one, baby.
We are number one.
USA,
Fucking
baby. We're gonna be
Schmitty,
number
Werbin,
one in
Yegerman,
everything.
Jensen.
Yeah.
What?
Come
again?
Schmitty, Werbin, Yegerman, Jensen.
Yankerman and Jansen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that one. So do all of our viewers.
It's a SpongeBob reference.
Okay, our viewers probably do. I grew up poor. I don't understand SpongeBob lingo. I apologize.
That did probably sound like I had a stroke on camera.
God.
So I don't know. So I got back and like I was like really concerned about it. And then, next thing we know, we're like, I don't know, here we are, March. It's like 2 months later, we're fucking everyone's on pretty much citywide lockdowns. Like I don't think it's like a federal thing yet that everyone has to be on a lockdown, but most major cities are, like Dallas is, even the Hunt County,
I think it goes county to county.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think.
From what I understand, because like when our friends sent us the feed of what was going on in Hunt County, it was like no confirmed cases, lockdown. So
Yeah,
well,
that was funny.
they have 2 confirmed cases now, I believe. I know I saw one, but I could have sworn while I was, looking through like shit this morning, like I saw that there was a second confirmed case in Hunt County.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And so like for people who don't know, though I'm sure most of our viewers are actually in Hunt County, super small town, northeast of Dallas. So like no one would even pay any mind to it, but we have 2 confirmed cases. So, it goes anywhere. Sawyer was talking to us. And so I had made the comment. He was like, Hunt County is like totally normal. And I was like, yeah, it's because there's not that many cases there. And he was like, he started freaking out. He's like, yeah, it's because no one's taking it serious. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. I agree with you. Like that's the problem is that.
Yeah. I feel like that's the sentiment of, probably like 90% of the country, like outside of like major cities, like in each state, like everyone has like the idea of like, yeah, corona, whatever, like it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to come out here. And everyone has that mindset. And then it's just going to continue to spread.
Well, this is the thing you see kind of all over. It's with a lot of stuff, it's with cancer. It's with like, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. It's with like murder. The mindset of can't happen to me is incredibly strong and toxic because it's like, when you hear about these crazy, you hear about pandemics, you hear about murder, you hear about shit like that. It's like, that happens to like, that's stuff that's sensationalized. That's not something that happens to like me, just like a regular Joe Blow, but it does. Like, and clearly with the way this thing has spread, it happens to everyone.
Yeah. Well, even like the difference between that, it's like, it's not there's going to be like a murder spree that spreads out to you. Like you're far less likely for that to happen. But something like this, if you had a time to be any like remotely concerned that it could get to you, it would be this disease that spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, it was. It was nuts. What were you saying, Michael?
I was saying the thing that's dangerous about the can't happen to me mindset and this particular disease, the coronavirus, is that I think I want to say one country, maybe Iceland or a few others, like 50 to 75% of their positive cases were asymptomatic. Yeah. So the people who think that it may not happen to them could very well be carrying the disease and spreading it to everybody that they come in contact with.
Right. It's already happened to you and you don't even know it.
Well, that's...
Yeah, like that. That's what's most terrifying about this entire thing. Like,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was in Walmart like 2 days ago. Yeah, so 2 days ago, Sarah and I went to Walmart to go get shit, and like I didn't realize how afraid I was to be near anybody until I was near people, because any one of them could have been carrying the disease, and I wouldn't have known it. And so when Sarah went to Walmart today, I stayed home. I said, fuck that.
So like with my job, I have a certain amount of, it sucks, but it's like realism about it, because the nature of my job, I for those who don't know, I work for a mortgage company. So we get these documents that come like all over the country. And what we know about this disease is that for the most part, it's primarily surface based. So we people touch these documents, they send them in, and like they get there within a day, like it's overnight shipping, and it's like I'm touching something that somebody else has touched. Like who fucking knows who touched this document? And so like I'm not like these other people who can just like completely work from home. Like in the morning, I have to go and give the work that I've done before, like the previous day, and then receive the work that I'm going to get for that day. So every single day I'm getting out and I'm technically could be exposed to the disease because I mean, who knows who my coworkers have touched or been around? Who knows if they're taking the right precautions and they're self-quarantining. So it's like any day I could have had the disease for 2 weeks and not even fucking known it. And that's the thing that is the most dangerous about it, because when the disease first started, a lot of people were like, it's only old people, it's people with dispositions to things like this, autoimmune diseases and things like that. But now there's been multiple reported cases of people our age, we're only 23 years old, dying from this disease, or in critical condition in the hospital, or hospitalizations, which have drastically gone up. So it's not the stigma that we had before of this only happens to old people, this only happens to sick people. Like, no, this could happen to anyone. Granted, it's much less likely that, you or me or Chandler are going to get the disease, but it's definitely a possibility, which we didn't really think was the case before.
Yeah. Sorry. That's something that
Chandler's turn. It's Chandler's turn.
That's something that I kind of had to deal with, like last week whenever Trevor found out that someone at his work had a confirmed case of it.
We had one confirmed case in the office, and because of that, before Dallas County was put on lockdown, we had to self-quarantine ourselves for bare minimum of 2 weeks, and then we got lucky, and within that 2 weeks, that's when Dallas County announced that they were doing their mandated quarantine. Anyways.
Yeah, so we put ourselves on like our self-quarantine, and that's like when I told my work about it, and that's when we got laid off because we could potentially be exposed to it. But like the hardest thing for me was trying to talk to my dad about it, because both y'all know my dad, and I'll try not to throw him under the bus here too much, but he's pretty, he's a conspiracy theorist. He's kind of out there, he's not a complete retard. He's pretty rational. But
Chandler's dad is fucking hilarious. I love Chandler's dad, but everyone has some opinions that are a little like fringe. So
he's pretty skeptical on like how widespread and deadly it could be. And I had like a hard conversation with him, trying to like tell him like I could potentially be exposed like through Trevor, who could have been exposed through someone else who was in contact with someone else. He's like, no, you don't have it, you're fine. I'm like, you don't know that. I was like, I'm not, because he wants me to like, come out and we want to put our boat in the water and go fishing. I'm like, I don't want to be around you. My dad's 68 years old. I'm like, I don't want to be around you or my mom or my niece. I was like, oh, we don't know. And he's, trying to give me the old thing, like how everybody thinks. He's like, you don't have it, you're fine. And I'm like, I don't know that. And I could very well be passively carrying it. And then I could give it to you, and then you don't know about it, and then you go out and spread it to other people. And I was like,
right.
That's like the mindset that everyone needs to have, is like, shit, I could have it. We need to do what other countries are doing and just stay in place for X amount of days to make sure you don't have it. And then you're okay to like go out. But I can't see that happening in our country. There's no way.
Well, with the mindset of our current administration, I don't know. It's a dilemma, because the issue that we're having right now is that we're a working country. We live for our work. That's just known. That's what's happened with our capitalistic society. Like every day in, day out, we put work ahead of really anything else. And so now we're put in this position where we can't really do that anymore. Like we can work from home, but like how productive are you going to be from home? Really, it doesn't matter what company you're with. It's not going to be the same level of productivity. So like our economy is obviously going to suffer from it. I mean, that's not even to mention, all the industries that have been shut down in China, which were essential to businesses here in the U.S. But so our economy is going to suffer. But like, what's more important that I don't know. It's like a catch-22, because our economy is going to suffer, but at the same time, you don't want more loss of human life. But then it's like, well, if we let it get too bad in one direction, it's also going to cause loss of human life, and it's going to cause suffering. And, if it gets like Great Depression levels, starvation, shortages nationwide, like So like I understand a bit of the the back and forth. It's not exactly black and white, like shut everything down, don't. But when you have someone who's like a well-known epidemiologist and is like, hey, there's no fucking way we can open the country back up by April 3rd. Like I don't know. I feel like you would take that into consideration a bit more. It's like, I want to make money. I don't want people to lose their jobs, but at the same time, I don't want people to lose their lives. Like if I had to choose between people, our economy suffering or like one person dying, I don't want someone to die. And I feel like that should be like the forethought, but that's not what's happened here. And that Trump and the Republican administration, they're really dead set on trying to get the economy back up and running like as soon as possible. But I just don't. I mean, right now at the current position that we're at, I don't see that happening. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Like if we just open it back up before, like right after April 3rd, it's going to mitigate everything that we did in that short amount of time. It's just going to spread even further. So
yeah.
And if you get like, if anyone like higher up in government is going to say like, yeah, it's okay. Like people that don't pay attention to it are pretty skeptical are going to be like, all right, well, we got the all clear, so we can go out and do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get exponentially worse than it already is. And we already have the most confirmed cases per population. So I can only imagine what it would be like if top levels of our government or even the president was like, yeah, open borders, like we can go, you can leave, you're free to go, do whatever you want, no lockdown. And then every single person in the country gets it.
Yeah.
Which I honestly, I feel like that's going to happen. Like,
it will happen.
Unless something like really drastic changes where like, and that's another thing too that I wanted to talk about is like people are going to, like the argument there would be if someone wanted to say like, it's mandatory, you cannot leave your house. Well, then you're always going to have that person. It's like, this is America. I can leave and go wherever I want if I want to type of deal. It's just, it's a clusterfuck. I mean, I've never been one to like really worry like too much. Like I've always kind of felt like out of place of like politics and whatnot. Like it doesn't really affect me too much, but this like affects everybody, and it's pretty scary the way it's going because it's not getting any better whatsoever. It's getting worse every single day.
What's happening in New York? We're basically the new Italy. Like we're worse.
Really?
New York is like technically as the country as a whole, we're worse right now because of. We have the most confirmed cases, but what's happening just specifically in New York? I mean, they're like, we need a shitload of ventilators because like we're already seeing like an unprecedented amount of cases, and it's only going to get worse. And like a lot of people at the CDC are saying like what we're seeing right now is not the peak; it's basically just the beginning of the peak, and it's already really bad. So like they're requesting all these ventilators, and like Trump is like, I don't believe you really need that many. And that like politics aside, the way this administration has handled this has been disastrous.
It started off like I was pretty hopeful. Like I thought like maybe like a week and a half or like 2 weeks ago, like I was like, you know what, Trump's doing all right. Like the way he's handling this.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I hate this guy, but he's pulling things together and he's making it happen. And then this whole debacle happens, and I'm just.
Yeah, well, you see that's the thing about it. Is like I thought the same thing. I was like, he's kind of taking measures I didn't really think he would take, especially like at the time. It was a week prior he was denying the existence of the disease like at all, and then he started implementing things to mitigate it. I was like, okay, good for him. But then it didn't stop there, and so. One of our friends, Sawyer, he mentioned earlier today, he was like, I don't understand like the hate boner for America. And I was like, no, I get that there are some things because, everyone just wants to relate it to, it's just our healthcare system. And it's like, well, it's not just our healthcare system. Like, yes, it would help if, everyone had universal healthcare and whatnot. Like maybe they'd be more likely to go to the doctors or whatever, but that's not even the point I'm getting on. The point is that when you, oh my God, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, shit.
Fuck.
Well, why don't you think on it? And I was going to say, like, besides like our healthcare system, like there should be like no.
That's what it was.
There should be no problem with us having or being able to get access to like a stockpile of the essential like goods that we need to combat this, like the ventilators or the masks and things like that. Like absolute necessities to help combat this. Like we can't get either because we don't have enough money or it's already spread too far. Like there's factories in other countries I know that like produce like these certain items that aren't able to function because of the disease. And it's like,
Yeah.
we get caught with our
Well-
pants down and Corona starts already bending us
So-
over.
Sorry. So, I mean, with that, how do you really prepare for something like that? Because just spitballing numbers here, I think I read somewhere that the United States has like 50 to 100,000 hospital beds, and we're expecting like millions of cases at some point. And I mean, it's not practical to have that many ventilators on hand. Like, I understand the need to mitigate the loss of life, but at the same time, like, you can't really prepare for something of this big of scale, I think. Which is why you have to take the preventative measures that everybody is trying to go on. Like,
Right. That's part of the problem, though, is that
Well,
what could have prevented this was what was it? I think it was back in. I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me exactly. And I can't like pull up the internet because I'll gloss over your face.
well,
But,
what do you need?
basically, I'm pretty sure. So like Trump fired the lead pandemic experts back in like 2018 because basically of the mindset of the, once again, the can't happen to me mindset. Like, that's not going to happen. We don't need to worry about that. Even though scientists, Bill Gates, whoever you want to say, have been warning us about something like this of this magnitude for like over a decade. They've been saying it will happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen again. Like, we need to be prepared for this. But what you said with the ventilators, I kind of agree with Trump a little bit because New York said we need this many ventilators, and he was like, okay, I don't think you need. It was something like ludicrous. It was like 200,000 ventilators, something like fucking insane. And so like, okay, I can agree with that, but at the same time, it's like this isn't even. We know, and based off the predictions that everyone else has said, that this is just the beginning of the outbreak, at least in major metropolitan areas like New York, Dallas, whatever you want to name it. And we're already running out of ventilators and areas to keep people. Like, they're already starting to like look at just opening up basically like makeshift morgues and makeshift hospitals. They've talked
Jesus,
about
that's scary.
They've
Makeshift
talked about
morgues.
Yeah, they've talked about. Well, no, they've already have that on standby in some areas in New York.
Jesus, that's scary.
They've talked about renting out hospitals, or I'm not sure if it was like abandoned buildings, but some buildings that aren't like event centers that or whatever, to basically just hold people who have the disease. And it's like, when we know it's going to get to that point, it's not a matter of like if it's going to happen, it's when. We need, I feel like at that point we need to take the measures, because I think I read an article about him like basically commanding GM to make more ventilators, which I agree with. I think around the clock with this disease going on, that those people, pay them whatever the fuck it takes, ramp up the production of ventilators. That needs to happen, because there's already a shortage and the worst is yet to come. So I don't think that's unreasonable to be like, hey, like we gotta put our shit aside. I know you don't want to work fucking 12-hour days. I know you don't want to work 60 hours a week, whatever the fuck it is. People are going to die. We need these. Like, we need these now. And I don't think that's unreasonable to say that.
I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable to expect to be prepared for something like this by having those ventilators on hand and by having all of the hospital rooms that are potentially needed, because that's a lot of space that won't ever be used until times like this.
That's true. But do you think that would be like it in lieu of like having like the actual goods made? Would it be more beneficial to at least have like some sort of like emergency fund for like if things like this do happen, we have like the funds set aside to get these produced? So is it like a lack of manpower, or is it a lack of money? Like, we can't afford to have these things produced? I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, we can't have like a million, whatever ventilators like on hand for like the next thing that we have, like the next pandemic that could come. Like, that's irrational. Like, we shouldn't have that, but we should have. I'm not a fucking scientist. I don't know what we should have, but we need to have something so we're not. And I definitely think after this blows over, eventually, that things are definitely going to change for sure. So we are prepared, but we should we should have some kind of plan to better prepare ourselves, even if it's not to stop it outright while we're like in the process that we're in right now, where we're at. We should be able to have the means and the funds or the manpower to combat what we can now, knowing how bad it is going to get.
Well, like you said, there's no way, and I agree with you. There's no way of knowing that this new disease that's going to pop up is going to have a specific impact on the respiratory system. There's no way of knowing if the new disease that pops up shuts down your kidneys or shuts down your lungs. Like, and I agree with you. So like, I get that point. But the thing is that China had pretty much a 2-month start on this before we did, and it was clearly spreading to other countries. It was definitely spreading to other countries. It got here. It started becoming an issue in Washington. It started becoming an issue in California, and even in all that time, we did nothing to prepare for it. Like, we did not take the measures that right then we should have known. Hey, a lot of people have fucking died from this in China, man. Like, we need to, I don't know, we should go ahead and just as a precaution take the steps necessary to, if this gets bad, because it already got bad there. It's getting bad in Italy. So I agree with you. It's not reasonable to think that we should just have like shitloads of ventilators on standby for like no fucking reason in case this pandemic pops up that maybe has an issue with the respiratory system. But when we see the evidence of it happening in other countries, I feel like it's not unreasonable to then say that we need to, like, as soon as a couple cases get over here, like, shit, 100 people have this and it's clearly spreading and it's easily transmittable between other people. Let's go ahead. Let's start revving up production of ventilators. Let's start putting counties, cities on lockdown. Like, at least from what I understand right now, there are still parts of the United States they're not on lockdown. Or at least that's what I understood as of a couple of days ago. That could have changed already. I don't know if it's a federal thing right now.
I'm sure it's more rural states,
right?
I think it was either like Virginia or West Virginia or something that like had like barely any.
They
cases.
had like none. But now every state has had at least one, but it's pretty low. But even still, when we started to notice this becoming an issue, and especially with it becoming as much of an issue as it was in Washington or California. At the beginning stages, we should have then been like, hey, let's lock this shit down. Let's, just as a precaution, just in case this gets bad, like, shut shit down, social distance, like, you know, we'll keep the essentials open. Because, like, I agree with that. We need to keep essential business open so that way our economy is not just completely fucking devastated, right?
Yeah, like GameStop and liquor stores and whoever else wants to be essential.
Yeah. But,
sorry, there's a chunk of the conversation that I missed.
Oh, you missed some of it?
Yeah, like
the audio.
We got poor connection or something. So
shit. Yeah, that's gonna be an issue with this podcast. Is we'll probably have some connectivity issues. What was the last thing you heard?
You were saying, like, there was 100 people with the virus, and we should have been prepared. Or now that we know that this.
So yeah, basically what
sounds like you guys are talking about essential and non-essential workers.
That was right at the tail end.
Yeah, well, basically what I was saying was that, like, I understand that there's no way we could be prepared for a virus like this, but the main issue is that when we saw it starting to come here and we saw it starting to spread and we know how contagious it is based off of the evidence from other countries, that right then, not now. There, like I said, I think there's still some parts of the country, you might have looked that up because I saw you typing. Yeah. But there might still be some parts of the country that aren't on lockdown. Like, right then, when we saw that shit happening, when we saw it spreading, when we saw more people getting this virus, we should have just gone ahead, take the preventative measure and been like, cut this shit off. Everyone, like, food places, only do takeout. No one can come in. Ban all gatherings. Let's just get ahead of the curve just in case. Like, just in case this is a problem, let's go ahead and fucking cut the head off right now. But we didn't do that. And there's still some places that aren't doing that. And for right now, for what's happening in our country, that's ludicrous. That's ridiculous. We need to cut everything off. Everything needs to be quarantined. Everyone needs to distance themselves. No one be in any kind of public gathering. You know, flatten the curve like they keep saying, because that's the best thing for us right now. Like, I know the economy is going to be strained, but we should have taken those measures in the beginning. And now, because we didn't, we have the most confirmed cases. We're going to have more deaths than anyone else. This is going to become a lot bigger of an issue than what it would have been if we had just been like, hey, we had just been like slight hypochondriacs, right? We had just taken the slight measures at the beginning, and it could have mitigated some of that. So that's where I'm angry about this whole thing.
Well, I would say just to play devil's advocate to that a little bit, but I agree 100%. Like right now, if you're not adhering to like any kind of like social distancing or like closing like certain businesses that aren't essential, really, like you don't need to have them open. Like that needs to be done 100%. But if you were to tell like small business owners or someone in like a more rural state or area like 2 weeks ago, like you need to close your business for the next 2 weeks or whatever, then there would definitely be some pushback because a lot of places, you know, they can't survive without those, you know, that income that they're getting every week too. So I feel like it's hard to really push that motif on those certain areas, and especially with like the rhetoric that we get from our government too, where it's not a big deal and it doesn't seem a big deal. Like 2 weeks ago, those people wouldn't really care like what you had to say about it. They'd be like, have the mindset like can't happen to me type of thing. So I mean, it's tough to really have one thing 100% right or the other because it just fucks everything up.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, I agree. I understand at the beginning, especially with the skepticism, right? Like it's like, oh, it's just another flu. But that's part of the problem is that like at the beginning,
I agree too with that.
yeah. So it's like I get where you're coming from with the devil's advocate, but like at the beginning, if we had just, I don't know, looked into it more, if we had just taken a couple of precautions, it would have been better. But instead, it was the can't happen to me. It's another flu. It's downplayed, and then it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then we even until Trump's only changed his mind in like the last week or something really small as of right now. And it's I don't know. It's just I feel like we could have done something more at the beginning. But,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like what I was going to measure is, so it's like, I know we're a democratic country and we can't do things like China has done and basically been like, you're not going anywhere, be locked in your homes, we have domain over you. But we could have done something, I don't know, more similar to like what South Korea has done, or just because they took it seriously at the beginning. They were like, we ain't fucking around, we're just going to lock everyone down, social distance, and I know once again, they kind of did some stuff that we can't get away with, but we look at the curve, right? We look at South Korea and then we look at our numbers and the percentages are way off. It's like they clearly had a much better handle on the situation at the beginning than what we had.
Yeah,
And,
I was actually looking. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I've been talking.
I was actually looking at graphs of the spread of the disease in various countries. I think I actually saw it on Twitter, but China and South Korea, the number of cases has essentially plateaued because they've basically got a hold on the disease. And compare that to the United States. I mean, I know we just got it, but if you compare the same amount of time between the United States and South Korea, like the United States' cases are rising exponentially, while South Korea at least had a little bit of a turn. Like the first derivative of their fucking cases decreased.
I love how, just like on a side note, every time I look up and see Michael and we're talking about like these like horrible times and like dark stuff, and Michael's just constantly smiling about it.
He's just fucking cheesing.
I know.
Everyone's dying. Yeah, I mean, like I get it. This is not something that anyone, and so like that's where I'll give some credit to some places that maybe don't deserve it. This was not something any of us would have ever thought 2 months ago was going to be a thing. No one woke up. No one woke up in the fucking morning on November 11th and was like, "Yeah, fucking pandemic's coming. There's some disease that's going to spread from bats to pangolins to humans." Like, and I think that just kind of shows, to be sentimental. It's like life can change on you in a dime, man. Like, out of nowhere, you're just living your life. You're living normal. You're going through, all the bullshit you're going through with work or school or whatnot. And then all of a sudden there's this fucking pandemic. And It just spreads across everywhere. It's killing a shitload of people, and it's like, who would have thought? No one would. I would have never thought in a million years that would have happened in my lifetime.
Nope.
But like that's the problem with there's still people who think that even right now while it's happening. They're like, I've seen posts on Facebook. Does anyone actually know anyone that's had this magical disease? Like in quotation marks, magical disease. I'm like, dude, it's killed like several thousand people.
Yeah, that's something that I was gonna talk about too. Like, you know, there's a lot of varied opinions out there, and I can, you know, for the most part, like see where some people come from, where if they don't live in a big metropolitan area and they're not affected by it, I can see the skepticism. But even then, like I've seen like posts on social media from people where it's like an art. I've talked to you about this thing we talked about the other day in the kitchen. Like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's like an article about like one of the people that in Dallas that was admitted with corona, and they like got released from the hospital, and like the headlines like something like coronavirus whatever person gets released from Dallas hospital and they made a full recovery, and like people are like, oh, you mean they didn't die from it? Gee whiz, who would have thought? I'm like, how fucking callous can you be? Like, yeah, this person got lucky, like they didn't have any serious illness come from it, or they didn't die from it. But how can you put like that one case of where it ended up great for one person and be happy for them, and try and belittle the other points of thousands of other people that have died from it? It's like, how can you? I just can't wrap my brain around that way of thinking. Like, I just can't imagine like being so small-minded or closed-minded that like you can't see the bigger picture of this affecting more than your town or your county or like your even just your state. Like, it's across the entire fucking globe. Like, how can you not see that?
Well, I think it stems from, especially like a lot of that mindset that you're talking about right now is definitely within the community that we grew up in. And the community that we grew up in is this isolated small town in East Texas. You know, living out there, you don't really see what it's like to like really live in a city environment. It's just not. The things that happen in the city don't happen out there because it's, you know, it's more rural. It's simple living, but and so like that's the thing. Like even as of like right now, they only have like 2 confirmed cases, but like a couple of days ago they had none, and so they weren't taking it serious. They were like, "Duh, I don't see any." So it's like one of those things. It's like I guess it's almost you have to see it to believe it, right? Some people that's just how they are. You just have to see it to believe it, and especially out there in those rural communities, it's like.
Well, the problem I think with that too is that, I mean, I can only speculate. Like I feel like that's the mindset of most other like small town or rural counties across the entire nation, and the majority of our country is more rural than it is urban, like land wise. So, like so many people are gonna have that mindset, like, yeah, well, it's not out here. Why should I have to worry about it? Yeah. Meanwhile, it's just slowly spreading out there, and you're doing nothing about it because you think that it can't happen to you. And it's going to happen. If you don't change anything, it's going to happen.
Well, like you said earlier, which I'm into loop that back around, but this is going to become another seasonal flu. That's what this disease is going to be. Like every fall and winter, we're going to have to worry about, you know, common cold, influenza, corona. Like this will be the new norm. That's just that, like, from based on everything that I see right now, that's just how it's going to be. And
I don't even think it's going to be seasonal. Like, I don't think corona.
I think it's going to be like the measles. Like, eventually we're just going to find the cure and we're going to vaccinate everyone.
Oh, there's Sarah for the first time.
Yeah, like measles or meningitis. Like, if you have to get like your shot records, you have to like make sure you're clean on. I don't even know what you'd have your records for.
Yeah.
Like measles, meningitis, you have your corona shots.
Yeah.
That's just what it's going to be like when we get through it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's just, like I said, it's just that mindset of can't happen to me. We're all the way out here. It's not happening. And like, I grew up in that town, but now we live in Dallas County. We are on not even the outskirts. We're almost in the heart of Dallas. Like we're on the outskirts of like North Dallas. It's happening. It's real. People have it. People in my office had this disease and it spread and we had to go on lockdown, and it's a real thing. It's not a made up government conspiracy. I'm telling you from personal experience.
Oh, that pisses me off too. People think that it's like some type of conspiracy too.
Yeah.
Like, oh
yeah.
my God.
And you know, maybe because like, you know, I've heard things about like maybe it was man-made in China, right? Okay. That still doesn't make it it doesn't exist. Like
It doesn't make it any more or
still
any
there.
less life threatening.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still killing people.
Still killing people. It, for the most part, based on the data that we have, you're right. It only kills older. It only kills people who have autoimmune diseases. People who
The
have
boomer remover.
Yeah, the boomer remover.
The senior deleter.
The doomers. that's the new generation.
Boomer doomer?
No, just the doomers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so based on the data, those are mainly the people that are dying, but people like me and Michael, people like me, Michael, and Chandler, they're dying. Like a 19-year-old in LA County just died recently. 19. Healthy. As far as they know, he didn't have any pre-existing conditions. This is a real thing. It's happening to people across the globe. And people who say who is basically just the flu, some people don't even know they have it, and they have it.
It's happening.
There we go. I don't know how she had that on standby, but perfect.
She was ready.
Fuck yeah.
I don't either. But
Yeah, that was impressive. I like that. It's happening. It's real. It has flu-like symptoms, but already it's at a 3% mortality rate, which that's double what the flu is. Something like that.
That's another thing that really bugs me too is sorry, Michael, I'll let you go real quick. But people that try and compare the death rates of this compared to other big issues, they're like, oh, well, this only killed so and so many people, hundreds or a few thousand people, while heart disease and all this other stuff kills thousands of more people per year. It's yeah, that's great. We can't get a shot to stop obesity or to stop cancer or something right now, but we can do something to stop people from dying from this currently. So why wouldn't you want to do something to shorten that? It just feels like people just have they just don't care about the life of someone else other than them.
Well, shit, I remember reading that article of the lieutenant governor from Texas basically being like, old people are willing to die to get the economy running again.
That's stupid.
And I'm like, literally, I was appalled reading that, and I didn't.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? I never heard of that before.
I can't go into too much detail because I only read a snippet from the article, and I can't even remember who it was by. It could have been by somebody Huffington Post or something fucking stupid
BuzzFeed
like that.
articles.
Yeah, it could have been something stupid like that. But I did see multiple articles of it later, and it was basically, was it the lieutenant governor? Michael can probably look this up while we're talking. But
yeah.
it was the lieutenant
Look
governor
that up for me, Jamie.
Yeah, lieutenant governor of Texas, and he was basically old people they say they're willing to die or willing to put their life on the line to get the economy running again. So
yeah, I'm sure
more
every
people
old
don't die.
person thinks that.
And but that's the thing. Right now, currently, that's kind of the mindset in this country is that we don't care how it's it's just. Couple old people who are in a home, they're gonna die, and even if they're not admitting it, they're not saying it out loud.
It's just cogs in the machine. We just
Yeah.
gotta take through this dip to get things back to
yeah.
normal.
The older people, the people who are kind of sick and shouldn't really be here anyways. They're gonna die.
That's such a gross way to think. Dude.
Yeah, it's they're gonna die anyway, so this might as well get rid of them. And
Yeah,
there's no
fucking
reason to
die
be in a
eventually.
recession for it. And it's I draw blanks. I'm like, how can anyone have that complete disregard? But I know people think like that. We grew up with people who think like that. They're so indoctrinated into their either A, religion, or B, political ideals that that's legitimately what they believe. They're like, some old people are gonna die, but we can't let the economy go into the shitter, or that's gonna be really bad and really inconvenient for all of us. And it's you fucking. You self-righteous prick.
So, you were right. It is the lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick. Let's make sure everybody knows this fucker's name. His name is Dan Patrick. And
he has two,
you were right.
He has two first names. What a cocksucker.
Yeah. You were right. He said he endorsed President Trump's desire to get the country back to work and said that he and older Americans might be willing to sacrifice themselves to the virus to make that happen. That sounds so insane.
How could you be the voice of reason for thousands of senior citizens? You just assume that every senior citizen thinks the way that you think, and they want to sacrifice themselves to get the economy better.
So here's how I'm going to relate
fuck.
this, and this is going to be slightly controversial, but I feel like it's very poignant. I think this has a lot to do with the way people think religiously. like that mindset right there that guy has. I don't think anyone can legitimately think like that unless they have this some kind of religious doctrine that they're like, I'm going, like, if I'm good, I go somewhere good when I die, and this is something I'm willing to die for. If it's my time, it's my time. And
fuck that, I ain't dying for our economy from disease.
But you and
Holy
I,
shit.
we don't think like that, because we don't have that doctrine. Like, you and I are like, this is all we got. I want to fucking die from some fucking, so the economy can be good. Fuck that. But like, there's a lot of people who that's how they think. Like, they're like, when I go somewhere, like the dude from Duck Dynasty was literally like, what do you need? What, you're gonna cost me more money? What do you need universal health care for? Like, when you die, you got the kingdom of heaven. Like, you got universal health care for all up there. So what do you need it now for when you're alive? And it's like,
holy fuck.
no, literally, that
so
was the thing. It was trending on
stupid.
Twitter, and Zach retweeted it, and he was like, my head fucking hurts. Like, my head's about to explode. But like, that's how some of these people think. And like, I don't mean to shit on religious people. I really don't. I think there's multiple parts of religion that are good, but these kind of people, that's how they think. I used to be religious. I kind of grew up in this mindset, and this is the thing. People think like this. People really do think like this. They're like, you know, this is really bad. A lot of people are dying, but that's all right. They're all going to heaven. They're all going to this righteous place when they die. So, you know, there's a good thing in everything, and it's, you know, this is it.
I feel like with that mindset, like, why the fuck care about anything? Like, you could just, like,
Yeah.
why don't you just, like, walk down, like, the middle of the interstate and you say, fuck it, if I get hit by the car, I'm going to the kingdom of heaven.
Dude, but that's part of the blissful ignorance that they live, that, like, honestly, like, a part of me slightly, like, you know, I'm envious of. I'm like, man, I wish I could be that fucking convicted about something, but that's how they think. It's like, you know, if I die in the most fucking ridiculous way ever, like, you know, I'm, you know, eating with my family at Saltgrass and I choke and die, like, it was meant to be. It was my time.
I feel like, and, you know, I don't want us to, like, delve, like, too much into religion.
I don't either, but, like, but what I was saying earlier is I feel like some of those people, some of those mindsets, especially in the rural communities, that's kind of their mindset about it, which is part of the problem.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like that ideology is infectious, too, because I feel like, I mean, I can only speak for myself and how I feel, but I feel like the human spirit and, like, the human, like, desire is to live. Like, we are made to continue living and to promote life. Like, that's what we've been doing for thousands and thousands of years, is prolong life, make life longer, make life easier, make life better. So why would you devote yourself to some ideology where you don't care about it, and then you stop caring for the sake of other people because you personally feel that you're going to go to someplace better in an afterlife or whatever you believe? I feel like it should be the opposite. Like, if you have, like, some kind of religious compassion, you should want to help other people. That I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I'll take your side. I'm not gonna completely shit on every religious person, or if you're content when you die, like, you know, that's fine for you. I'm not judging an entire mass group of people, but I know for a fact there are some people that think like that. That's their mindset, is, you know, I've got God, what else do I need? And
you need vaccinations if you want to continue. You need a cure for this disease to live.
That's
what you fucking need.
Right. So I'm not going to judge the entire Christian sect. I know there's a lot of people who don't think like that, but I do think that if you do think like that, you're part of the problem, and fuck you. That's where I stand on that.
I don't want to shit on them, but if you are, fuck you.
Well, okay, so, like, you can be religious and be, like, rational about things, but
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but, like, that, if you think like that, I don't care if you're religious or not. Fuck you. Fuck you.
There we go.
I just feel like at some point there should be just some kind of universal, like, outcry of, like, feeling for another person. Like, you should just want to fight this to keep other human beings alive. Like, it goes beyond, like, political ideologies or shit like that. Like, I hate that too. Like, all this is, like, becoming, like, so political now too. Like, it's not political. It's a disease against the human race. Like, we should, as humans, do something to stop our race from dying. Like, but that happens with everything now. It's just,
I hate it. I was
disgusting.
I was reading an article this morning, and I didn't read too much into it, but basically some people are taking this as an advantage to, like, really limit access to abortions. like
What?
Republicans are taking this as a stance to limit access to abortion because they just banned non-essential surgeries, right? That's what they're using it on. They're using it on that platform of, well, an abortion is not a non-essential. It is a non-essential surgery, so clearly they shouldn't be having it while this is going on because you don't have to have that. You can just have the baby. But like that's the thing. That's what you were saying earlier. Like this shouldn't be used as like a political football. But some people are still doing that shit. Some people are using that as the yeah.
Like and this, like the way our society is now, like it could be the smallest, minute, dumbest thing, but someone will make it political.
Yeah.
But with something this grandiose and of this scale, like you should do everything in your power to like not make it political. This is a human problem, not a Republican problem or a Democratic problem. It's everyone's fucking problem.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I agree.
There are a few things I think that the world has a common enemy on. Like a lot of countries are fighting each other. A lot of people don't like others, but climate change, fucking pandemics that are wiping out is dramatic, but sweeping the globe and killing a lot of people, like that's a global common enemy that doesn't need to be politicized. That's something we can all stand behind and rally against. Something we can fucking trust our scientists to tackle, not say that it's just the flu, it's a democratic hoax, it's things like that. It doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. You're cutting like in and out of like really good audio to really bad, but I agree with you.
I get what he's saying. It's either, what'd you say? Like the pandemics, or what was the first thing you said?
Climate change.
Pandemics, climate change, aliens. That's what's going to take everyone to rally together.
Yeah.
I say that, in like light, but I feel like this should be a time like if people were smart and compassionate, then this would be like the time to like bring like the two, like how split our country is now and the globe, but mostly our country, like how split it is now. Like something like this that affects every single person should be, we could use it as something to come together. And a Democrat could be like I know it wouldn't happen, just like go with it, but like in like the same hospital room as like a Republican, and they can come together because they're both affected by something that's greater than they are. And you can realize that like there's bigger problems than what you're dealing with, like just tiny squabbling of shit. It's not going to be like that. I know it's not going to end up happening like that, but that's just what I wish would happen in an ideal scenario. But
yeah. Well, I remember the ending of that movie. This is an obscure reference, but has anyone seen Arrival? Have you both seen Arrival? It's like got Amy Adams in it. It's about those.
Yeah.
Okay.
With their creepy bear thing?
Arrival. And so it's like Arrival.
Oh yeah, I've seen Arrival.
Yeah.
I thought you said Rival.
Yeah, no. So Arrival. So basically, it's a movie where aliens land and they have to figure out a way to communicate with it. But like at the end, you kind of figure out that they're only willing to communicate with the humans if they can all get their shit together and work together. So like they have to like devise a way for like China and the U.S. to have like really good relations and like everyone come to this agreement of like our problems are petty. This is on a galactic scale. We have to put our shit aside and deal with this. Like this is clearly a much more pressing issue. And so like I sit there and I think about that all the time. Like that would never fucking happen in real life. It's beautiful to romanticize that, but there's no fucking way. There's just no way. These countries were all so, like even in just the U.S. we are so divided. Like we haven't had like a like the World War II that really brought us together and was like, hey, got to put our shit aside. We got to ramp up production. Like us as women, while the men are off fighting, we gotta put our shit aside and really get it done. Really keep things going. Like we haven't had that in a while, and we're at this point where it's like everything is so far right, far left. Like and that's just in America. Like one of the most free countries that there is. Like there's. I don't see a way in like the near future to where we could all like come together on an issue, which that's what makes it so difficult for something like this or something like climate change, right? Like there's so many differing opinions between countries that like we can't come to a global consensus on like anything. Like the United Nations, they fight amongst themselves all the time about, well, what's right, what's not, what should we interfere in, what's a human violation, and I don't know. it's aggravating to watch because like, you know, us as like decent human beings, we think we're like, hey, like this is what's right. But then like, you know, you got someone else in some other sect of a country that they're like, oh, that's not, fuck that idea. Like, I don't want that shit. And like, I don't know. It's very hard to unite us all. And this is something that I hope will put it all in perspective. But I guess only time will tell.
Like Michael said 20 times a day, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
Wow.
And if Sawyer watches this, I think it's Sawyer. You were there. So we're all experiencing this pandemic together.
Oh,
Even though we may be separated, we're all doing it
yeah,
together.
And Sawyer was like, but we're not. We're through a webcam right now.
But it doesn't matter. Like, everybody's going through the same fucking shit.
So, you know, we talked about the COVID-19 for a little bit now and our opinions. So we'll try and transition into maybe something lighter. I'm not entirely sure, but just another topic, you know, try and get people's minds off of it for a little bit. Shit.
A toast.
A toast.
To intermissions.
To intermissions.
Toast to intermissions.
And continuity errors. So Michael, you had a topic you wanted to bring up, so why don't you?
Oh yeah, dude.
You are in the spotlight now,
Yeah.
so we will now transition into that.
So the topic that I want to bring up is how people's perception of you changes when you do something that's not normal, like get a tattoo or do drugs,
Beat off on a playground.
Especially that third thing.
Nice.
I especially want to delve into the third topic.
Well,
I have a
you
problem.
and me both. So, one of the things that I would like to just preface this with is, obviously everybody knows that people think tattoos are unprofessional. Like, if I were to get a tattoo of, I don't know, this logo on my arm right here, visible, there might be a problem with that. If I were to get my ears gauged, even a small gauge, in public, or if I were to get my ears gauged and try to work in a professional environment, there might be an issue with that. And I don't think that should be the case. Like, of course there should be a line, like, you shouldn't get plastic surgery on your fucking forehead. But a tattoo? Come on, brother.
I agree. I mean, and that's something that I haven't like dealt with, but I've definitely thought about, because one tattoo that I wanted to get, and it was like, because I only have one tattoo, and I've thought about like countless others, but when I think about one, I want it to be something like really personal or like meaningful to me. And one that I thought about, which I loved the idea of it and I wanted to get it done, but the only thing that stopped me is that it would be like on my forearm, so it wouldn't be in the profession that I want to go into. It might not be like seen as professional, and I would think that it would stop me from getting a position in like a certain career that I would want, as opposed to someone that wouldn't have that tattoo. And that pisses me off.
Yeah, I think that's stupid, because it's not like your tattoo is going to affect your performance at all.
I mean, if it was graphic in like some sort of way, then yeah, but if it's, you know, if it's just a tattoo of something that you like, if it's not like someone getting like, I don't know, fucking beheaded or something, or like really graphic or like sexual or violent or like maybe drug related or something that's like openly visible, then who gives a shit? I mean, I know who gives a shit, but who gives a shit, honestly?
It's mainly the older generation.
Fucking boomers.
For sure. You know, my boss is like that. She's a little bit older. She doesn't like tattoos.
That's how I would say my work. I'm currently unemployed. I got laid off from my job of 6 years, but that's how they were too. Like, no visible tattoos. I'm like, dude, who gives a fuck? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair,
tattoo.
you work for a faith-based organization, and that kind of comes with the territory, I guess.
I worked for a faith-based organization before they fired me.
Worked. Yeah. It's one of those things. I feel like as we get older, I mean, it's already become more socially acceptable. There are some places that don't care if you have tattoos showing, but for the most part, in the business world, people don't like it. And like, I agree with you, because like I have one, and like it's covered up pretty nice by my watch band for the most part. A lot of people don't even know that I have it, but I want to be pretty much sleeved from my, like, only my left arm, like left arm up to my chest. Like, that's what I want. But I know the second that, because like there's this forearm piece that I want really bad. I know the second that I get that, I'm going to have to wear long sleeves. I'm going to have to wear something to cover it up, like, all the time. And it's annoying because, like, my boss, she literally said one day, she was like, it's not that I hate tattoos, but, if we were at an art gallery, like, that'd be fine. But we're not in an art gallery. We're at this firm, so that can't be showed. It's like, well, why? We don't interact with clients.
I was about to say, especially with you, like, you're on the fucking phone, like.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that, like, okay, maybe I could understand if there's a place you're constantly interacting with clients, right? Like, you're constantly going out and meeting people. I mean, even then you can make a case for, like, it's still dumb, but all right, whatever, I'll give it to them. It's like, okay, that's stupid. That's the opinion that they hold. But there are so many places that are like, like call centers or whatever that, like, you shouldn't even have to dress, like, let alone tattoos. You shouldn't even have to dress business casual or business anything because no one sees you. You don't interact with anyone other than the boss. It's literally just like, yeah, I like my slaves to dress sexy for me. Like, it's just there's no fucking reason for you to dress like that. Like, it's so, yeah. No, I agree with you. It's ridiculous. It's a stupid social stigma. It's just one of those older things. Like, there's still some people that, you walk into a certain, like, a government building or a building with that fucking hat on, and they're like, take that hat off. It's like, I want you to explain to me. Please explain. Sit down, explain it to me so I can understand why wearing a hat in any kind of public space is dishonorable. Like, they'll look at you like you just whipped your dick out in the public square. It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life.
I had a professor that was like that one time where she was like super old school, super strict. Great professor. I learned a lot from her, but she was quite a bit. We talked about this in the podcast with you, me, and Dub. Yeah. But she was like, the first day she was like, if you walk into my classroom with a hat on, you will either sit down in my class without your hat on, or you will walk out of my classroom with your hat on. I'm like, who gives a fuck? I'm like, it's a hat. God damn.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Or like, we had some teachers in high school, like, you walk into my class chewing gum, you're gonna be doing push-ups. It's like, what the fuck? Why? It's gum.
Well, now that I think about that, that just kind of like follows, like, I feel like it's mostly older people that have that ideal. And like, when we were in school and they had like that same thing, like, if you're chewing gum, then you're gonna, whatever, like, do push-ups, or you're gonna be punished or something. And we're like, well, why? Like, you would have people be like, why do I have to do this? Like, it's just chewing gum. Like, I'm setting you up for the real world. It's like, okay. They're like, you're gonna have to, like, we would hear that like constantly, like, throughout school too. It's like, you have to adhere to rules, like, when you're in like a professional environment too. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but there comes a point where you can decide like what's, pretty like a generalized like rule that like what's either like socially acceptable or like a norm or like a taboo or something, versus wearing a hat or having a tattoo or wearing blue jeans to work. Like,
yeah, some people have this mindset of like traditions. It's like, hey, it's a tradition, is what we do. Some traditions are fucking stupid. They're just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. It makes absolutely no fucking sense, but people just keep doing it because, well, that's what everyone did before me. And it's like, dude, fucking who the fuck cares if you walk into a post office with a hat? No one gives a fuck. No one fucking cares.
I hold on to the notion that I feel like, and I feel like I can see it too, just from like the interactions that I meet with people like more my age or maybe just like a generation above me or so, like, that tattoos are becoming definitely like more socially acceptable, and maybe not really soon, but, and maybe not even like by the time like we're like already, neck deep in the business world, like they'll be pretty socially acceptable, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, they're already. So like, there's some people in my office who are like tatted up. They have a lot of tattoos, and they're just able to cover it. It's not really a big deal, but you jump back like 20 years and it's like, you were a fucking degenerate if you had that many tattoos. You had a tattoo on your neck or whatever. Like, there's no fucking way anyone would hire you. Whereas like now people can, as long as you're not doing really dumb shit, like, like Post Malone. Yeah, like Post Malone yourself, or like, look, I love tattoos. If you tattoo your face, you're a fucking idiot. I don't care who you are. That's just stupid. Like, I've not seen a single face tattoo that looks good. But like, unless you do some dumb shit like that, people will still hire you. It's like, okay, you just got to cover it. Whereas like before, it's like, okay, yeah, this guy fucking sells crack. Like there's no there. That's clearly what he does.
Well, I feel like it's going to become at some point, hopefully soon, because I want to get some sleeves too.
Yeah.
That I've definitely thought about, but I feel like at some point it's going to get to where like you don't have to cover it. Like if you go to like a semi like professional like business or something, like you can maybe wear like a button-up shirt and you can roll up your sleeves, and if you have like a tattoo from like your forearm down like visible, like nobody's going to bat a fucking eye.
Right.
Or if anything, someone's going to be like, hey, that tattoo's kind of cool. What is it? And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I got this because it means this and something. And then
right. Dude, most people,
I've had that so many times happen to me, too. Like, I see someone's tattoo. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. Why'd you get that? Or what's the meaning behind that? And then they tell me, they're like, oh, do you have tattoo? It's a conversation piece. Like, if anything, it's going to promote business.
Yeah, literally, that is the one thing that between like me and strangers that I bring up. Like, if I see someone that has a tattoo, first thing I ask about, because I really love tattoos on people. I think they look great. So, like, you know, I see a pretty girl. She's got a nice, like, little shoulder piece. I walk up. I'm like, hey, I like your tattoo. Like, tell me about it. And we talk about our pieces that we have, and it's...
Unless it's, like, an anchor or doves or an infinity symbol or something.
Then I know what you're...
trying to keep away.
Yeah, I know what you're about.
So, slight segue here. I'm interested in the story that you had about the EDM girl. The one that you were talking to.
Oh, the Tinder one?
Yeah.
So there's okay. So there's been two. So for those who don't,
there's been two.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Tinder doesn't particularly work well for me. I don't know what it is.
Tinder sucks.
Well, Tinder does suck, but you know, some people have success with it. Like Sawyer's met some pretty bomb ass girls on Tinder. Some people, I think like Harrison and Lainey, they met on some kind of like dating app. I don't know if it was Tinder, but something similar, I think. So like some people clearly have success with it. That's great. It does not work very well for me. And it's probably my fault. I'll admit to that. Okay, no problem. But so anyways, so I matched with like these two girls. And so, you know, EDM, you know, like rave music, shit like that for people who don't really know what it is.
Wow, I bet you do ecstasy and MDMA too.
All the
degenerate.
time. I don't even have to go to a rave. I'll just fucking do ecstasy.
You're fired.
Yeah, no, I am. So, you know, EDM's got, you know, there's multiple levels to it. Anyway, it's really good. I really like the community. So Michael's gotten me into it quite a bit. You know, he kind of introduced me to it. So I've noticed that these couple of girls that I've matched with, they were clearly wearing like rave outfits. So that was the thing. So
what is a rave attire?
It depends on who you are.
So basically the best way, yeah, everyone's a little bit different with it, but the best way I can describe it is like it's, you know, scantily clad. So like, you know, it's showing quite a bit, but also at the same time, it's like, imagine like a really like glittery or like just straight silver top and like super short, like bright shorts or something like that. Like rave attire.
Typically like bright colors or like, I think I can.
Oh, Michael's about to show us. He's grabbing something. But yes, rave attire. It's very once you like go and you see the people that are there, like you know when someone raves.
Do they have like the light fingers?
Some people do. Yes, some people do.
I've been to like one. Okay, so, I've seen those.
Okay,
Trevor has those.
Those are for dudes. So like yes, I wear the one on the left, the red one.
All right, now Michael, show us your scantily clad outfit so I can get the example.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh God.
Oh shit! This is no longer a PG podcast. Yeah, get off our Christian Minecraft server, dude.
Well, we're gonna get flagged. 18 and older only now.
Yeah. Anyway, so like there was this girl. She was clearly wearing rave attire. Like it was obvious that she was. Also, like.
Okay. I mean that makes sense.
Not exactly what I was talking about, but they also wear like these They also wear like these like fishnet kind of things on their legs, where it's like, yes, that right there. That's literally what I was talking about.
It looks like a stripper.
Yeah,
kind of.
An alien stripper.
I'm not gonna judge them. I like what they wear. It's great to go to raves. Let's just say that.
I'm sure you like it.
Oh, it's fantastic. So anyway, so she was clearly wearing like rave attire, and so like I messaged her, and I was like, so you're clearly a raver. I was like, what do you listen to? And she was like, I don't really listen to the music.
So she's a poser.
So I was like. So like that's clearly that's a conversation starter, right? You go based off of the things that are in their bio or in their pictures, and I thought that would be a good one. Like, you know, if you can connect on music level, that's probably a good thing. And so I was like, hey, yeah, so you got to rave. She was like, I don't really listen to the music. And I was like,
what?
I was like, so then, I bounced back from that. I was like, no. I'm like, okay, I kind of agree. Like, I don't really listen to music all that much either, but my friend Michael, he's really gotten me into it. Like,
So she doesn't listen to like that kind of
like
music?
the EDM, yes.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I thought you meant like she doesn't listen to like music in general.
no. I mean, fuck, if she said that, probably wouldn't have surprised me. But so yeah, so I agree with that. I bounced off of that. I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. I'm not really like big into the community, but my friend, he's gotten me into it. I've gone to a couple raves with him. And she was like, yeah, this one guy that I met on here, he brought me to a couple raves, and it was actually my first rave, and I'm like, yeah, I really liked it. I was like, okay, so like, who did you listen to when she went there? And she's like, yeah, like I said, I don't really listen to music. I'm like, okay, what do you listen to? And she's like indie alternative. I'm like, all right, well, like I listen to that style. I'm more alternative, more indie. Like, name some bands, maybe we have some overlap. No reply. Like, that's just like how that went. And then so I was like, okay, that was fucking weird. And then so matched with this other girl on Tinder. I think, was that today? Or maybe yesterday. Whatever.
Baller.
One of the two. And so she literally said in her bio, she was like, I'm a raver. And I'm like, okay. So like I messaged her and I'm like, all right, you're a raver, huh? I was like, so what do you listen to? And she was like, she named several bands that you listen to, Michael, like Louis the Child and Excision.
Set the Sky out there.
Set the Sky, yes.
Right.
Excision and a bunch of other people that I didn't know. And I was like, well, I'm pretty new to it, so I know like these three bands. I really like Set the Sky. And she was like, yeah, Louis the Child is my absolute favorite. And I was like, yeah, my buddy. Well, she said something like, she was like, I literally cried to like Set the Sky songs. And I was like, yeah, my buddy, he's kind of like that. He's like super into the scene. Like, we literally were talking about, like, we were doing a FaceTime the other night, and he was literally counting down the seconds till this new Dabbin song came out. And then so I was like, hey, you mentioned in your bio that you're like an artist. So like, what do you create? No reply.
Hoser.
I was like, what the fuck?
Well, I don't want to get too far off it, but that's why like I don't do any social media. I just have Snapchat. I have Facebook just because I like memes, and that's all. I don't interact with people on it because I don't give a shit really.
Yeah.
But like that's mostly why like I don't do like Tinder, like shit like that, or like any kind of social media, is because people will put what they think is appealing to other people. So like you can put like, I'm an artist, writer, blah 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 blah, I'm into this, and then when someone like tries to like delve into that, they're like, oh shit, like someone actually cares, and then they just like ghost you.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those things. I don't entirely blame them, because it's like, I mean, like, there's just one girl I'm good friends with, and I've looked at her like Bumble profile, right? And so you can like scroll through and see, like, it's all blurred out because you have to like pay extra for it, but you can see all the people that have liked you, right? And she's pretty attractive, and I mean, she could scroll for like an hour of just all the people who have liked her, but she hasn't liked them. And I'm sort of like, okay, like as a girl, I understand it. Like literally, you could be a 4 on the scale, right? And people will just,
how dare you
people
rate women?
Oh, fuck that.
God, what's
People,
wrong
you could be
with
like a
you?
4 on the
Honestly.
scale,
Get 'em.
and people will just be lusting
Get
after
'em in
you.
the
Like
comments.
men are pigs. And like there's no doubt about that. Well, us dudes, we'll fuck a sandwich if it's readily available. And
Just get some microwave
That
a piece
turkey
of
about to
bologna.
make me act up.
Microwave
Yeah.
a piece of bologna, some mayonnaise, a
Yeah,
piece of
dude.
string.
Yeah,
You're
you just
good
got to
to
make
go,
sure
dog.
the sandwich is warm.
pretty much,
Yeah.
no, that's it. Not even that sometimes, like, but anyway, so it's like, I don't blame them for not like, replying to me. Like, how are they supposed to know that I am like this nice guy who means well when literally they're getting fucking like 30 messages a day from people on Tinder? Like, so I don't blame them for that. But at the same time, it's like, what the fuck are you on here for? Like, I get mad when it's like clearly like we're having a decent conversation and it's not just like base level, like, hey, I think you're hot, I'd like to fuck you. Like, I get mad when it's like we're having a conversation, we're actually going back and forth, and it seems like we have some common ground, and then there's just like nothing afterwards.
Getting ghosted sucks.
Like just randomly mid conversation, things are going well, we're actually hitting it off, and then it's like nothing. It's like, okay, that's where I get mad. Like you were bothering to reply to me. Like, at least give me something to be like, hey, not interested. It's like, all right, fuck,
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I would much rather have that. And I've been single for a long time, but anytime like I've been like talking to someone or like anything, like, or we've been like just kind of like feeling it out, like anytime where I I haven't just felt it. Like I can definitely sense like or like feel that they like feel a lot stronger to me than I do for them. Then like I'll tell them, and I'm like, hey, like I just I'm sorry, but I just don't think this is going to go somewhere, and I don't want to like lead you on or anything, because that's what I like people to do to me.
Right? No, I do this,
but no one has done that to me, because I normally just get like no reply, and I'm just like, okay. I was like, well, I guess I fucked something up.
I get it slightly, like I really do. Like I'm trying to understand it from their perspective. Like if you're a woman, like just in general, no matter what, like somebody's gonna want you literally just for what you put out. Where like dudes, that's not the case. Like if somebody likes you as a guy, they like actually like you for the most part. Like guys don't really get used that much, whereas women do. They definitely do. Fuck, I was gonna go somewhere with that. What was? God damn it, I fucked up.
Well, if you lost it, I was gonna add something too, that I've had like similar situations, just not with like ravers, because I'm not into that music.
Yeah.
Your choice, whatever, but I love classic rock, and I am super partial to anything like that. But what I've noticed recently too is a lot of like like I don't know, like any kind of store will sell like some like vintage like looking or like style like album artwork or something, like on a band like t-shirt. The biggest one that I've found is like Pink Floyd's, because I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan.
Right.
That's the one tattoo I have of is a Pink Floyd album cover.
Yes.
But like the Dark Side of the Moon album, like that's on like so many different kind of t-shirts, and I'll see like different girls like out in public like, with that kind of t-shirt on, and like I'll approach them and be like, hey, I'm like, you like Pink Floyd? I'm like, what kind of songs do you like by them? Or like what kind of music? They're like, oh, I don't know like any songs by them. I just like the t-shirt. I'm just like, all right. See you later.
Yep. No, I legitimately
me off so
I
much.
got mad at a girl at work about this. But same thing. Beautiful girl, and she was like, "I'm going to order a Rolling Stone shirts because she liked the logo or whatever." And I was like, "Can you name any Rolling Stones like songs?" And she couldn't. And I was like, "Then you can't buy the shirt." And she was like, "I can buy anything I want. I think it's cute." And I was like, "No, like." It's a band. It's like buying a show TV shirt and never fucking watching the show. Like you got to know something by it. And she was like disagreeing with me. And I was like, the annoying thing is that she's really smart. So like I know there are people out there who like don't even think about it. They just buy a shirt. They think it's cute and whatever. But she knew better and she did it anyways.
Yeah, like I mean, it's petty. Like, I mean, I get like if it's like a cool like artwork or something, you want the shirt like that. Cool, that's fine. But I love music. That's like one of my biggest like things. And if someone like has like, obviously like it appears that they have similar like taste in music as me, and like I make some kind of approach, and then I find out they don't give a shit about this kind of music. I'm like, yeah. All right, well, I can't trust you to do fucking anything, I guess.
Dude, I matched with a girl on Tinder, and she was like, she was a lifeguard. So I naturally was like, you've seen The Sandlot, right? And she was like...
I haven't seen The Sandlot.
So basically, there's this scene...
Forgive me.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but basically, like, there's this super hot, like, lifeguard chick, and they're all like young kids. And
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, and so like he like fakes drowning so that way he can get mouth to mouth from the lifeguard.
Oh yeah,
girl.
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've seen the scene.
Yeah, and so like I made that reference. I was like, "You've seen The Sandlot, right?" And she was like, "Yes, I have." And if you make the joke, I swear to God, I'll laugh. And I was like, I was like, I was gonna say this, like, we could reenact the Sandlot scene, but now I feel pressure, and she fucking deleted my ass.
It's not what we initially what Michael wanted to talk about, but I feel like it's a weird time for people our age to like try and date too.
It is because like I was going back to earlier, like it's super easy to get lost in all these dudes because men are fucking.
Men are trash. Honestly.
No, straight up. Like that's not even
trash.
like me trying to be this like, oh, I'm different. Like men are pigs. Like I said, they'll fuck sandwiches if it's warm on the counter. Like, dude, fucking, they don't give a fuck. Whereas like women, they try to like pick and choose. But so it's like, how do you believe a guy that's like, because that's something else. Like that's another trope. It's like, oh, I'm this nice guy. Like fucking, I'll treat you right or whatever. And then you get in, and then you fuck them, and then you never talk to him again. Like you ghost him after that. Like how do you then prove yourself like as a guy who legitimately is like that? Like the three of us are. It's like, how do you prove yourself as that guy when there's so many others literally like lining out the door who on the surface level are like us, but at like the drop of a hat, they're just like fucking out. Like that's, so like I understand it from their perspective. I understand why they're not trustworthy. I understand why they ghost us. I understand all that shit. It just sucks. If you're a legitimately nice guy, it really does suck.
One thing that I've encountered too, in like my small, advances in the dating world, is I've gotten this from multiple girls that I've like been talking to, or like we've hung out a few times, is like they've like cut it off, and if they have told me, they'd be like, you just seem too nice, or like you're too nice to me. I'm like, or like you're trying to do like too much for me. Like I know like one time like I was hanging out with a girl, and like we were going out to like dinner or something, and she had to get gas, and like I got out, I was like, well, I'll pump your gas for you. Mm-hmm. Chivalry isn't dead. I try and be like a true gentleman, and
whips out a sword, kills her.
Yeah, I'll commit seppuku for her if I need to. But I was like, well, she like got out. I was like, oh, stay in. I was like, I'll go pump your gas for you. And like the next day, like she told me, she's like, no one's ever done that like for me before, and it kind of like took me off. And I feel like you're just gonna be like too nice for me. I'm like, dude, I can't fucking win. I was like, what do you want me to do? Like fucking bitch slap you or something? I was like, I don't fucking get it. I was like, what do you want from me? It's like, I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah.
It's
like,
weird.
I don't think I've ever met these. I don't think I've ever like the women that like I hang out with, the people that I've hung out with, they've always like been attracted.
Hang on, Sarah. You're gonna have to repeat that. The audio like quality dipped really bad.
See, I think this is why I don't have a lot of friends that are girls, because these people are they put on these fucking glasses and they're like rose colored because they're just like, oh my god, I love this guy. They don't realize like they treat them like shit, and I'm just like, why can't you just pick a nice guy? There's like maybe a couple people at my high school that I'd be like, all right, they're nice, we date them, like I'm not gonna talk shit. But like, they pick the douchiest people, and I'm like, how do you live with that? Like how? And then you guys are like,
Hang on one sec, Sarah. It dipped for a little too long. I don't know what it is about her.
I think I got the most of it.
Yeah, I understood it. I don't know if our listeners will understand, but yes and no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just like, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't find a nice guy. I was like,
yeah, you can.
They're there. You're just not looking.
Well, okay,
out here.
So like I understand slightly from this perspective.
Please leave your name in the comments. We're out here.
Yeah.
We're desperate.
Oh my god. Try to pick up a woman on a podcast. Date me. I am available. No,
I am incredibly single.
Yeah. So like I get that from like a little bit. So like from my perspective, I've dated a couple women who I knew they were good for me. I knew that like they would be loyal to me no matter what, and they were like really sweet and they were great. But like there's I don't know, maybe I'm going to sound like a woman in this, but there's a little bit of a thrill in, not the chase, but like you don't want it to be too easy. Chandler has used this example before. He was like,
I know where this is going.
He's like, he was like, you don't want to. It's like when you go fishing and the fish just flop in the boat, right? Like you're not having fun, are you? Like if the goal is to fish.
Give us the context of that situation.
I'm not. I wasn't even gonna go.
Let's not delve into.
Yeah, I don't want to dive
in.
So I don't want to dive into that. But like I get it. So like you meet this girl and she's just like immediately right out the gate, super sweet. Will do anything for you. Like no matter what. Yes, master, I'm here. Like it's like okay. There's a bit of a. It's like I want you to be your own person. I don't want you I don't want you to be just like this thing that clings to me.
Here, but
well,
yeah.
Well, that's something that I think is
weird.
A problem too. That I can kind of relate back to like an online dating or like social media like type of dating that we have. Is like people will try and put out like a persona of what they think people will like versus who they actually are, and they're not being completely honest with themselves. Whereas.
Right.
If you're completely honest with yourself and you don't try to like change your mannerisms, well, I mean, you should try and like be like as nice and like cordial as you can. You don't want to, treat like someone like as you are like on a Sunday afternoon. laying around, but you should just try and be you as much as you can. And if that person doesn't like you for you, then, go on. And that's the way it should be. Because, that's the problem that I've encountered the most is like on the outside, like not knowing the person and like either like seeing them like online or just very briefly like interacting with them. I might be like, you know what, I can feel that I might have like a connection with this person, or it might go somewhere. And then like once you get to know that person, it's completely different versus what they put out when they're in a social environment or something. Whereas I feel like if more people were just like, how they were just every day, like you would find someone that you would like just in normal every day-to-day environments. But the way our society is that you want to try and put like your best like pictures literally, or like your best like image of yourself, and that's what everyone is doing. So it's like these propagated views of your own self like onto other people, and it's not really who you are. Well, I think that's the biggest problem.
Well, so like my thing is there's been multiple women that I have been attracted to that when I first met them I was not at all. Like just based on, if we're gonna go completely surface level, like the way they looked or whatever, when I first meet them, for like just a super superficial level, there's been multiple girls I'm not really that attracted to her. But then like as I got to know her and like interact with her, I was like, dude, she's bomb as fuck. Like she might not be a fucking 10 on the scale, but like her personality is a 12, and it's like I'm more attracted to that. But there's no way you're gonna know that on Tinder or Bumble or whatever the fuck it is. You're not gonna know. I mean, maybe they have like a few funny comments in their bio or something, but you're not gonna know if she's like, she jives with you well or whatnot. You literally, like, the point of those apps is like, hey, when I look at this girl, would I fuck her?
Like that's pretty much it. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I've seen advertisements for stuff like that where it's like hookup apps, where it's like your only intent and purpose is to just meet up with a person and have sex with them. Yeah. That shit blows my mind. I mean, I get it. Everyone wants to knock some boots around and get their nut, but for me, I've had my fair share of experiences of like one night stands or just like little flings or something, but like when it's all said and done and you're like driving home or something, you're like, does that really mean anything? Like, I feel like for people that actually do care, like they want something more, like they want there to be some kind of like value in the relationship before something like that happens. But just the way things are right now, we want it now. We want to fuck right now, and either we get it or we don't. We don't want to build a relationship type of deal. It's pretty, it's a rough situation for us single fellas.
I've gone out a little bit. I went out a little bit when I was in college, and like even now as a 23-year-old, like there's some people I've gone out with that I've seen kind of the dark side of this, right? So like when we talk from the perspective of us three, or even like the majority of our friends, because I feel like most of our friends, minus maybe one or two of them, we're all like really good guys who think the way that like the three of us do. There's a lot of guys that don't. Like
for sure,
like straight up. I would be venturing to say that there's like 80% of men out there do not think like the way that we do.
I lived with a lot of people like that. Whenever I didn't live with Trevor and our other roommate John, I associate with a lot of people like that, and I was kind of like that at one point, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Some people do. They get off on it. So, like, I went out not that long ago with, like, this group of people that I didn't really know that well. We were just, like, mutually friends through, like,
is this the coworker? The one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
I got you.
And it was just a shit show. Like, a lot of these clubs I go out to, like, I don't know, man. There's just... people are fucking dancing and grinding on each other. They never met or talked a day in their life. They're basically, they're there to fuck, and they don't care about the person that they're fucking. They're just like, I'm here tonight. This is what I'm doing tonight. Tomorrow night I'm gonna be in fucking Colorado. I'm be fucking this bitch. I'm be doing that. And like that, and like people our age right now, like people who are in their mid-20s, that's how a lot of them think. Like people don't really start getting serious until like kind of later on, but we are this weird phenomenon because it's like, instant gratification, like swipe right, match, fuck, like it's just we've never
formula's
really
easy.
Yeah, we've never really seen that before, and so I feel like for me at least, it's really hard to be serious with someone that is my age. I feel like for me to be in like a pretty successful relationship, I would have to be with someone who is a little bit older than me. And that could be like a false perception, but that's kind of what I've seen. I've noticed the girls that are like a bit older than me, you know, they're in their early 30s or whatnot. They're a lot more mature. They're wanting to settle down. They get it. But like the girls who are my age, they're like in college or they're about to graduate from college and they just want to
get drunk and fuck.
Yeah, but that's not just girl. Like I say that like it's just women. That's like guys too our age. Like that's like the mindset in your early 20s and like has even extended on to a lot of people who don't really mature that fast in their late 20s. Like, you know, there's some people I worked with that, you know, in their late 20s, they're literally like a year away from their being 30 years old who act like they are in their freshman year in college.
See, okay, sorry. So that right there kind of segues back into what we were talking about. This is actually very convenient. Thank you. So there's a time in your life when you need to experiment, when you need to try things out. And then there's a time in your life when you should probably let those things go. In my particular case, I'm talking about a comment that was made to you about me. And, you know, I'm talking about drugs. I'm talking like some of the harder stuff. And when you're young and you research things like that, and you take calculated risks like that, I think that's perfectly acceptable. As a 23-year-old myself, I'm fine with going out and doing a little bit of drugs. Because I know that when I get older and when I start having kids, like, I can't be doing that. I got to be a responsible dad. But right now,
it's all right to let your hair down, for sure.
Well,
would never fault you for that. Let it grow out, man.
No.
Let her flow.
This right here is the only thing I'm letting grow out, and it doesn't even look good. Like,
I think
good
it looks
job.
fine.
I'm in the mid process right there. My beard's getting a little thicker.
No, I've got nothing. Like,
it's all right.
But you know, anyway, like, if I wanted to do acid, I should be able to do acid. If I wanted to do shrooms, I should be able to do that now rather than when I'm 30.
Yeah.
I don't even think it should be.
Well,
I can't hear Sarah
She
all
said
that much.
I shouldn't.
Sorry.
I don't think it should be an
really
age thing.
be an age thing. Like, if you want to go out and party and have fun, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I'm fine with it. Like, that's my viewpoint in all this. Like, go out, fuck a bunch of people. As long as you're safe, you're not hurting somebody, go for it. But, like, you know, it's the people that are reckless about it who go out there and potentially, like, you know, spread diseases and, like, literally just fuck anyone and everyone and break everyone's hearts. Those are the people that, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
and you're right. Maybe I'm taking that from the perspective of, you know, just kind of what I see. No, there's nothing wrong with being young at heart. There's nothing wrong with. I mean, fuck. I don't care if you're in your 60s and you're dropping acid every fucking day of your life. Like,
hell yeah,
that doesn't matter to me.
Fuck it.
I'm just saying it as more of. From my perspective, as a guy who does want to settle down, right, and have a family at some point in the near future, I understand that. But no, you're right. You're right. Maybe that is a bit of a skewed perception on my part of like, oh, hey, you should have your shit figured out when you're 30s, and you shouldn't. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
I don't think anyone has their shit figured out.
No, you should never. There's never a point in your life where like you should have everything figured out. So no, you're right. I'm wrong there. I'm not even gonna try and deny it.
I would say to like add on to that, like it should go back to like how you, well, not necessarily want to be perceived, but how you're showing yourself off to other people. Like if you want to, you know, let your hair down and just have fun, like you want to go out and party and get drunk and do drugs and just, you know, hook up with people, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like definitely not. Like you shouldn't be stigmatized for that.
Right.
Like that's part of.
But be honest about it is like what you're saying.
Right. Like you shouldn't try and like put yourself out there like you want to be in a relationship with someone or try and have something serious, and then on the weekends you go out and do whatever you want to do to be young and frivolous.
So I'll redact my statement a bit. I probably got off on a tangent. I will say in my age group right now, it is more difficult for me to find someone that wants to be serious, but that doesn't make it wrong. And maybe that's what I was like saying. That's not what I meant. I'm saying it's just more difficult to find at my age.
I feel the same thing too because you know,
I find it funny. Like I've got like 3 friends that are getting married.
Yeah.
Like,
it happened. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
She's doing her second marriage currently. Like I just got an invitation to her second wedding.
Oh, that's
Nice.
a little. Hey,
Like she
second
got
party.
married at 18. Yeah, divorced.
Look,
and
no
then
judgments.
Another marriage. And I'm like, dang, get it, girl. But you know, it's funny. Like you know, apparently, not a lot of your friends are getting married. Like I have 2 friends that are engaged currently, and I'm engaged. And then who else? No, it was just Emily. Yeah, but yeah, it's
You know, everyone matures at a different rate than others, and some might feel they might not be really ready to settle down, but they found someone they want to settle down with, and that's perfectly all right. But I do agree with Trevor. Like at my age, and you know, it's not everyone. Mine and Trevor's age, guy wise, because there's definitely you know every age of men actually that just want to fuck and do whatever they want. But like people like me and Trevor, like
We're not saints.
we want to find something like pretty serious. You know, we're past like that kind of stage of, you know, just acting crazy and doing whatever we want to. Like we would like to find something like pretty serious, but I find myself in the same boat as you. Like I do look more towards people that are older than me, and it feels a little odd for myself. Like I'm looking at like people that are like either in like I haven't really looked into like people that are in like their late, or not late, but like early 30s or something. But like I'm thinking like more like late 20s or something. Like I'm thinking like 26, like 27, or like 28. Like, you know, generally at that age, like you've kind of like phased out of that, you know, party phase or doing whatever you want phase type of stuff. Which if you haven't, it's all right. You know, do whatever the hell you want. We don't give a shit. But I find myself in the same boat as you. And another thing that I wanted to add on too, which is becoming a more increasing issue for me, and you know, this is also, you know, you can have this however you want, but I definitely feel like growing more and more is there is a shit ton of single moms. Like a lot of like girls that like I've found like attractive or like personality wise or just like physical attraction wise, I'm like, you know, they seem like a really cool person. I'm attracted to them. I would like to, you know, see where this would go if I could. Then I'm like, they have a kid. I might not be ready to be a father either. I feel like that's becoming more and more of maybe not an issue, but it's something that's happening like in people our age too. Maybe from relationships like Sarah mentioned.
Well, I mean,
it's just like my dating pool is getting smaller.
Well, right. Well,
smaller.
like, you know, the nuclear family is pretty much dead now, right? Like stepfathers are a pretty common thing,
and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, not at all. I would never say that. I'm just saying that it's like in our day and age, there's nothing wrong with, like, you know, we have a buddy that did that exact same thing. Like fucking he started dating a girl that had a kid, and he fell in love with a girl, and he didn't give a shit that he had a kid, that she already had a kid that wasn't his. Like, because in our day and age, that's not a problem. Whereas, like, you know, you jump back 30 years, it was like, fuck that. Like, I ain't doing that. Like, so no, like, you know, people our age, we don't care about that kind of shit. Like, we, you know, if we love someone, we love someone. Who cares about their baggage that they, you know, they bring along? It doesn't matter to us. But
we did get a little off track. We started off on how people perceive tattoos, and now we've, you know, delved into
that's the beauty of a podcast. It just snowballs.
It does.
Yeah.
Snowballs.
It's a weird time to be alive for plagues and dating.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know.
I think plagues and dating. I think in general it's just a weird time to be alive.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about, like, our generation. We're breaking all the societal norms. Like, we're not the typical. I mean, social media has changed the world. It's changed how we've interacted with each other. It changes, you know, how we respond to a crisis like this. Like,
and I hate that shit.
Fuck connectivity. We hate it. It's awful.
I love globalization and the spread of communication, but I hate social media.
I want to start a fire with my fucking stone and stick axe.
Yeah,
I had no idea what you were going to say there. I was a little bit concerned.
Yeah, no. What the fuck did you
I kicked off my sandal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. No, it's just like one of those things. The world has never seen dating like this before, like to where. What I was gonna bring up earlier is that like people my dad's age, right? My dad's almost 50 years old, and his buddy Jason, like he has like a fucking crazy high success rate on dating apps because it's like people their age, they're finding this as their outlet to meet someone new who is serious, because it's like, I'm not saying when you're 40 you don't just want to fuck, but it's like, when you're 40 years old, you're like, or you're in your mid 40s, you're like, yeah, that'd be nice, like I would like that, but at the same time, like to build something, I guess. So it's like there's a lot of people, I feel like, or from what I've seen, the data on this could be completely false, but from what I've seen, a lot of people my dad's age, like they find pretty good success rate based off of literally just messaging on Facebook or meeting on Tinder or meeting on Bumble, because it's like they're actually looking for something more than just like let's meet, let's fuck. Because I feel like our generation, it's a pretty known thing. We all have quite a few issues with commitment, with like saying, this is the one person I want to be with the rest of my life. And that's not just in dating. That's also when we're seeing it in jobs, right? You jump back 20 years, you jump back 50 years, whatever. It's like, hey, I want to be a firefighter. And you're a firefighter for 50 fucking years and you retire and you do that. Whereas like now it's like millennials are... they're going out and they're being a part of something for like 2 years, and then they jump jobs, and then they move up the ladder through that, and then they jump another job, and that's something that the world has never really seen before. And it works the same in the dating world. It's like we're not just going to jump and be committed to the first thing that comes along, whereas like a lot of people in the previous generations would have done. We're like, hey, maybe there's something better. Maybe if I like play it this way, it could work out like that. And I feel like that's it's a pretty new mindset. That's not something that has really been across a societal level. People have been like accepting and okay with.
I tried to find statistics on like old versus young success in dating apps, and I ended up accidentally going to like this porn advertisement site. That was a mistake.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm sure you did.
That is perfect.
Oh yeah, accidentally.
Yeah, dude. Did Zach ever tell you? This is such an obscure fucking memory, but it just popped in my head like out of nowhere. But like Zach, when we were kids, he it was like when Guitar Hero 3 came out, so like no one knew who the fuck, our age, no one knew who the fuck like Tom Morello was and things like that. And so he went on in like the computer lab, he like typed in like Tom Morello, and it was like a link to some fucking malware shit, and he like clicked on it, and it immediately was like fuck you, and it like flipped off the camera, like it flipped off whoever it was. And so he was in like 5th grade. He got like super nervous. He told the teacher, and then like we had to like shut down some of our shit.
Oh, good
Oh
Lord.
my gosh.
Fuck you, Tom Morello.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane.
Malware in the early thousands.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
A fucking Trojan horse virus.
God. So is there anything else you want to add to your point? Because I know we got super off topic, but it was a good conversation. So
Yeah. Who are you asking?
you.
Oh, just that me personally, as a drug user myself, I am still the same person. I am not inhibited in any way. I know that some people can be, but I mean, if you drink too much, you can die.
Well, that's the funny thing about like alcohol, right? Is it's like it's technically one of the more dangerous drugs. Like it kills more people than like most of them.
And the area of like study that I've done in college, like we've had a little bit of like leeway to do like some kind of like freelance like research papers or something. What I find myself like mostly going towards, because it really interests me, is like addiction type things. But like you can have a crippling addiction to anything that can vastly alter your character or like your life or like your potential career in anything. Like it could be food or pornography or TV or video games or
Porn.
or drugs or alcohol. But the stigmatization that we have is that if it's drugs, like you are any kind of user, then you are, you're a druggie, you're a pothead, you're a crackhead or whatever. Whereas you can do, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like maybe not a new way of thinking or maybe an enlightened way of thinking, for lack of a better term, but like you can, dabble in a little bit of everything. And as long as you're still productive member, like as long as you're still a productive member of society, like what does it matter? Like if you smoke a little pot after you get off work and you still show up to work on time and get your job done at the same caliber as you would not doing it, like who gives a shit? But if you, sit at home and, I don't know, you binge watch like a TV show or something and you're up till 4 a.m. and then you're late to work the next day, like, is that worse than being addicted to drugs and showing up to work late too? I mean, I see where you're coming from, Michael, for sure, and I agree 100%. But yeah. I feel like it's just the stigmatization of what it is and like how it's been perceived by our government and generations before us is why people judge so harshly on it.
I haven't changed since doing drugs. I'm still the same guy. I still have the same ambitions. I'm still in a master's program, and doing drugs hasn't really destroyed my life in any discernible way.
Yeah. Fucking drugs, man.
As any responsible user of any kind of, type of stimulant could say, where it be alcohol, drugs, sugar, caffeine, anything that has any sort of addictive, in quotations, Michael, quality to it, would say, there's a lot to experience in the world, and you should experience things, and as long as, you keep your main goal on track, then, who cares? You should try, you should do stuff, you should experience things.
I blame Nixon. That's who I blame for all of this.
Fuck that and the war on drugs. It's a whole bunch of balagna.
It literally is. Like, there were quotes that came out from his administration later that were like, yeah, we could make, we figured out that we couldn't make, being black illegal. So what we did, was we put a war on drugs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's actually a quote?
Yeah, look up, like, I don't even know, like Nixon, like, fucked up quotes or something like that.
Or, well, shit, that could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Or even like in the Clinton administration, they had, which people are, I'm sure, still serving. I can't say for a fact, still serving under like the 3-strike rule. Whereas if you get like the same penalty and it was, geared toward whatever, but it's at drug charges. Like if you get the third like drug charge, like 3 strikes, you're out, and that's people still serving life sentences for things like that.
Yeah.
That's hard, dude.
Yeah, that's fucked up. People that are like getting put on probation or like 1 or 2 years for like statutory rape charges or molestation charges, like getting out, like barely anything done to them, really virtually a slap on the wrist, and you got people for selling pot in the 80s serving life.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and wrap up? We probably hit right around that 2-hour mark. So
yeah. That's a wrap.
We've talked about a lot. We've gone a lot of places.
We'll probably be fucking taken off of YouTube for our like past 30 minutes of conversation, but whatever.
Yeah, because no one wants to hear the cold hard fucking facts.
Yeah, it's apparently controversial. We'll be labeled as another Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan.
We'll be
or you'll just have to log into your YouTube account that's 21 and over to watch or 18 and over to watch our video. So you know what? To our younger viewers, you can't hear me.
Innocent until proven guilty, immediately demonetized.
It's not like we're monetized anyway.
We're not. Yeah. All right. So to wrap things up, social distance, guys, for the next couple months.
God, who
Years.
knows how long?
Yeah, we don't really know. Fucking stay away from other people. This is a serious pandemic. We need to take it seriously. It's no longer like, oh, this is just a China thing. We're all fucked. We need to, flatten the curve as long as possible.
And if you decide to wear gloves in public, bring pairs of gloves, because if you touch something with your gloves, it's the same as using your bare hands. Just want to throw that out there
Yeah,
to people that don't know how gloves work.
Do your best. Do your best to stay away. This is a real thing. It's not some quote unquote magical virus that fucking goes around. It's real. It's here. It's killing people. Take the precautions necessary. Even though you might not be affected by it, other people will be affected by you being around it. So don't be an asshole. Do your part. Everyone do your part. Yeah, we're all in this together, as fucking Zac Efron once said.
Yep.
Wise
A
man.
very wise man.
Very wise man. Who also played a serial killer on Netflix. So, yeah.
It's a nice tie-in.
Yeah.
We've come full circle.
Yeah, full fucking circle. Anything else we want to add? Or, Michael, you got any words of wisdom for our viewers?
Listen to EDM.
Okay. Listen to EDM.
Stay safe. Wash your damn hands.
Yeah, wash your fucking hands, guys.
Okay, so
What?
I guess if we're talking about coronavirus safety measures, if you think you have it, call your state health department. Figure it out.
Nice.
It can happen to you. Only you can prevent coronavirus. Fuck, I fucked it up. Forest fires and coronavirus. Only you can prevent it.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
And coronavirus.
That is the pandemic going around right now. Forest fires.
People are forests and they catch on fire.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music /podcast, YouTube, whatever. Go like our Instagram accounts at Modern Goonies.
Single ladies, hit us up in the comments.
Yeah,
You
all the
won't,
single
but I'll
ladies.
plug it.
Yeah, all that. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. I've been your host, Trevor King Bynard, co-host, Chandler Schwing, and my good friend, Michael Ross.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Deuces.
Have a good night. Be safe. Wash your fucking hands.